Once upon a time, in a village of Danko in Kebbi state of Nigeria, far from the bustling cities, lived a man named Ibrahim. Before he became rich, he started from a humble beginning. He was born in a small, impoverished village where life was a daily struggle. His family, like many others, barely made ends meet, and Ibrahim often went to bed hungry. His father was a poor shoe cobbler, while his mother was an akara seller by the road. As a child, he was fascinated by the rich men who occasionally passed through their village, their turbans gleaming in the sun, symbolizing wealth and power. He dreamed of one day wearing such a turban, or at least make one for the rich men, but for now, he had to make do with the tattered clothes and worn-out sandals he owned. In the village, Ibrahim was often mocked for his dreams. His peers taunted him, calling him delusional and foolish. "You, a rich man, look at you," they would sneer. The constant mockery hardened Ibrahim's heart and fueled his desire to prove them wrong. He worked tirelessly, learning any skill he could that might help him escape his poverty. Yet, despite his efforts, his circumstances remained unchanged. One fateful day, as Ibrahim wandered the outskirts of his village, he stumbled upon a mysterious old man sitting by a fire. The man introduced himself as Baba Jibril, a renowned ritualist with a reputation that spanned far and wide. Ibrahim, desperate and intrigued, shared his woes and dreams with the old man. Baba Jibril listened intently, his eyes gleaming with a strange light. "I can help you, young Ibrahim," Baba Jibril said, "but it will come at a cost." Desperate and seeing no other way out, Ibrahim agreed. Baba Jibril took him under his wing and taught him the ancient art of tying turbans. But it wasn't just the technique that Baba Jibril imparted. He performed a dark ritual, bestowing upon Ibrahim a sinister gift: the power to transfer the fortunes of the men whose turbans he tied, but at the cost of their lives. "Use this power wisely," Baba Jibril warned. "You will gain wealth beyond your wildest dreams, but if ever you are caught, madness will consume you." Ibrahim was known for his impeccable skill in tying turbans, a skill passed down to him by his godfather, Baba Jibril. Baba Jibril, a revered but feared ritualist, had bestowed upon Ibrahim a sinister gift. Anyone whose turban Ibrahim tied would see their fortunes transferred to him, only to fall gravely ill and eventually die. With this newfound power, Ibrahim left his village, determined to prove his tormentors wrong and achieve the wealth and status he had always desired. He traveled from city to city, offering his services to the rich. His skills were unparalleled, and soon word of the talented turban maker spread. The rich men he served were impressed with his work. With this dark power, Ibrahim set out for the cities where wealth and opportunity abounded. He wandered from city to city, offering his services to the rich and powerful. His fame grew as he tied turbans for nobles, merchants, and wealthy men. Each time the pattern repeated, the man would die soon after, and Ibrahim would quietly move on, his coffers swelling with their fortunes. As the years passed, Ibrahim's wealth grew, and he reveled in the luxury that had once seemed so unattainable. He bought fine clothes, lived in grand houses, and surrounded himself with opulence. Yet, despite his success, he never forgot the humiliation he had faced in his village. Each time he amassed another fortune, he felt a vindictive satisfaction, imagining the shock and envy of those who had mocked him, but wealth came with its own perils. Ibrahim was careful, always moving before suspicion could fall on him. He knew the price of his gift, and the fear of being caught gnawed at him constantly. He would often remember Baba Jibril's warning, the image of the old man's gleaming eyes haunting his dreams, as Ibrahim moved from city to city, Ling's city of Kaduna. Here, his life took a new turn when he met Amina, a beautiful and cunning woman. Amina was the daughter of a wealthy merchant known for her intelligence and charm. Ibrahim was captivated by her, and she, seeing the wealth he had accumulated, was drawn to him as well. Their courtship was swift. He showered her with gifts, fine clothes, and jewels. They married in a grand ceremony, the talk of the town for days. For a while, it seemed as if he had everything he had ever dreamed of: wealth, status, and a beautiful wife. Amina, however, had her own ambitions. She was clever and had always desired a life of luxury and power. Though she enjoyed the riches Ibrahim provided, as she was aware of his dark secret, she had pieced together the mysterious deaths of wealthy men and Ibrahim's sudden rise to fortune. She pretended to be blissfully ignorant, all the while plotting her escape. She thought, this man wants to put me in his wahala. One evening, as they sat in their opulent home, Amina approached Ibrahim with a plan. "Husband," she said sweetly, "why don't we travel to other cities and expand our influence? We could become the wealthiest couple in all the lands." Ibrahim, smitten and blinded by love, agreed readily. Together, they traveled 2 different cities, and Ibrahim continued his dark work tying turbans for the rich, who would soon fall ill and die. Each time Amina would encourage him, praising his skill and foresight, but Amina was playing a long game. She began siphoning money into secret accounts, preparing for the day she would leave Ibrahim. She knew that his dark deeds would eventually catch up with him, and she wanted to be far away when that happened. One night, as they were preparing to leave for another city, Amina made her move while Ibrahim was sleeping. She had arranged for a car that will take her to a distant city where she could start anew with the wealth she had secretly accumulated. She left a note for Ibrahim explaining her departure. "My dear Ibrahim, I have taken what I deserve and more. Your gift, though it brought us wealth, is a curse. I cannot live in fear of the day you will be caught and madness will consume you. Goodbye. Amina." Ibrahim woke to find her gone and the note lying on his pillow. Rage and despair filled him as he realized he had been outwitted. He searched for her, but she had covered her tracks well. Betrayed and heartbroken, Ibrahim's once sharp mind began to unravel. The stress of his dark deeds, the fear of being caught, and the loss of Amina took their toll. His wealth, once a source of pride, now felt like a burden. His journey eventually led him to Kano, a city teeming with opportunities and unsuspecting wealthy men. It was a city of prosperity known for its vibrant markets and opulent palaces. Here, Ibrahim's reputation had already preceded him. Al-Haji Usman, a wealthy and influential figure, noticed the exquisite turban tied on one of his friends and inquired about the turban maker. Intrigued, Al-Haji Usman summoned Ibrahim to his mansion. Ibrahim, with his usual charm and expertise, tied a magnificent turban for Al-Haji Usman. The following day, tragedy struck as Al-Haji Usman fell mysteriously ill and died. The city was abuzz with shock and rumors, but Ibrahim, as always, prepared to move on. However, this time was different. The sudden death of such a prominent figure triggered an investigation. Authorities and family members began to look into Al-Haji Usman's recent activities and associations. Ibrahim's name surfaced repeatedly, raising suspicions. Meanwhile, Ibrahim continued his work, unaware of the storm brewing around him. His next client was Al-Haji Musa, another influential man in Kano. The cycle repeated. Ibrahim tied the turban, and Al-Haji Musa fell ill and died. But this time, the authorities were ready. As Al-Haji Musa's health declined, investigators had been closing in on Ibrahim. They caught him red-handed in the very act of tying the deadly turban. He was immediately arrested and taken to the police station for interrogation. In the confines of his cell, the reality of his situation began to sink in. The walls seemed to close in on him, and the gift-turned curse from Baba Jibril began to manifest in a new form. Ibrahim's mind unraveled, and he descended into madness. Raving and incoherent, he confessed to his sinister deeds, detailing the dark ritual his godfather had performed and the deaths that followed his work. As madness crept in, Ibrahim's life came full circle. From the mockery and poverty of his village to the heights of wealth and luxury, and finally to the depths of despair and insanity. His story was a tragic testament to the dangerous allure of unchecked ambition and the dark paths one might tread in its pursuit. The authorities, shocked and horrified, documented his confessions. The once revered turban maker was now a madman, spewing tales of dark magic and cursed wealth. Ibrahim's fortunes, amassed through his evil deeds, were seized, and he was left to rot in his madness. The people of Kano and the other cities where Ibrahim had plied his trade were left to mourn their losses and rebuild their lives. The story of the turban maker who brought death became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the dark paths some may tread for wealth. Ibrahim, the man who had traveled far and wide to tie turbans for the rich, ultimately met his downfall, consumed by the very power that had once promised him untold riches. His tale ended in madness and despair, a stark contrast to the wealth and prestige he had once sought.